This is Dev. Dev embarks on a podcasting journey to listen to the countless creatives, leaders, normal everyday people, and everyone in between in his life on Devisalive and listening to
Amari, aka Offiliate. In our time together in grade school, I had little to no idea how talented you were on a music basis, art basis, and or poet basis. Fast forward 2 years after high school, you gave me the opportunity to interview you for my first podcast and let me know you were starting to make and eventually release your own music. Years later, we're here to listen to the trials and tribulations, the triumphs, and everything in between that led you to not only becoming the incredible young artist, poet, MC, and more that you are today, but also what led to an incredible project 4 years in the making called Calling. Mm-hmm. And I had the absolute pleasure of listening to it for the very first time before anybody else listened to it at the listening party, which, by the way, thank you for the invitation to being there. And what a project, dude.
Yeah, man, thank you.
By the way, how are you?
I'm doing fine, man. I'm doing fine, keeping myself busy out the way,
Exactly.
Almost in a sense where, well, now that the album's dropped, I'm kind of in a space where do I, go back to the drawing board, or do I relax and take in everything, or I'm kind of in between there. So
right, and we're talking about a project that you explicitly said multiple times, because I think you earned to say it. 4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
4 years in the making.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Take me through the first year of like what felt like the cultivation of Calling, because I would love to hear about all 4 years, and I think we will gradually go through each 4 years, but I think that first step where you're like, oh, I'm making a project is very, very pivotal. So what was that time like for you?
It's so much that I could really talk about within those 4 years. And the very first year, it was just more so like I had a friend group, still do, friend group. We had a house together, and they all made music. They were the first ones to put me in the booth and was like, try it, record it, because they already knew that I did poetry.
Right.
So they would just like put it on a beat. And, we had a studio inside the closet in the basement, and then we had like blankets to block out the sounds and everything.
Yeah.
And literally I would trap myself in there all night and walk out, and the sun would be up. I would be in there writing, recording, deleting it. I didn't like it, trying to find my voice because I've never recorded before yet. Right. So it was a whole process with that, because I don't know, I think just me being ignorant towards being a recording artist, I didn't think it would be that hard to actually find your voice and your sound and everything. I thought you were just gonna say what I wrote down and it's gonna sound good. Right. No, it's way more.
Yeah, it's a very intricate process.
Exactly. So within those 4 years, a lot of it was more so of me trying to teach myself how to do the shit. And I think that's something that took up the majority of the time, because it's a lot to do. As far as within those 4 years, as far as coming up with a concept for the album, that's something that kind of always been there with me, because it's been a lot. The album is pretty much about a bunch of trials and tribulations that I've been through myself personally, growing up, X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And it's a very vulnerable album for a black man to kind of spill out everything. Yeah. And that was the whole point. That was the whole reason. I wanted more black men to hear it and be like, damn, I feel that. Like, I'm not able to express it, but he did it for me.
Right.
That's the whole reason behind Calling. Before, Calling was actually titled Pain Tolerance.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was actually titled Pain Tolerance, and it was only 10 tracks, and those 10 tracks are not even on the album.
Really?
At all.
So what year are we looking at when that's finished?
This is like year 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's always my favorite part of hearing, because I just I dropped an interview yesterday with Ray Mark, which, by the way, incredible artist.
Okay. Shout out Ray Mark.
Yeah, shout out to Ray. He had what I believe was also a 10-track album in 2021 ready to go, and he was just like, no.
Yeah.
And I know Ray, I know there was way more than 10 tracks that were made for him to like cut it down to 10 and then eventually drop what he dropped this year, which was about, I think he dropped 11 songs.
Yeah.
I'm like, how many songs did you make? Like, demoitis is like one of my favorite parts about rappers, because it could be on one end person really loving how a demo sounds or hating how it sounds and then cutting it completely.
Exactly.
And I think that like it's like, wow, what didn't we get in that album? How much of pain tolerance still kind of exists in Calling?
The intro.
Okay.
The intro.
Yeah.
The intro I wrote when you listen to the intro, I speak of 2019. That's when I wrote that intro.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So fast forward now, 2023, I'm finally using it into a project.
Right.
So that shows you how long I've been.
Yeah. So
like
the
that's
concept
been in the
was
fight.
always
Yeah,
there.
it was always there.
Right.
It was always there.
Wow.
And like how you said with Ray, he put out a 10 track, and you're just like, how many tracks were there before?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If you take that information I just gave you, the intro was there since 2019. Up to now, it's
So
hundreds
many,
of songs.
So many songs.
Hundreds of songs, bro.
Wow.
Hundreds of songs
And
ready.
You narrow
And,
it down to a really, really solid album. With
Yeah,
Calling.
thank you. And that
Absolutely.
just took years of progression. It was just my own ear saying that, I didn't like this anymore because now I elevated so far. So I just, hold it. I may release it. I may release the old tracks as like, untitled, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And throw it out there just so people could have it.
Yeah.
But even in my very first EP, Bloopers, at the end, Testimony, the last song on the tape, I actually do a quick little snippet of songs that I had already recorded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like in the background you can hear it.
Wow.
Then I like kind of shut it off, turn it back on with the cassette tapes.
Yeah. That's
so
incredible.
stuff like that. But it's a whole catalog, man. It's a
Little
whole
Easter
catalog.
eggs.
Exactly.
Of your whole career.
Exactly. So I love putting things like that into my craft because it kind of builds my character.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah.
So I have so many questions and compliments and everything in between to talk about with Calling, but I guess just to keep it, very categorical, the very first track, your intro, holy shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, I had always known about you because we had talked about it. I think one of the very first conversations we ever had about it was in our math class our senior year in high school. AMDM, shout out to Coach whatever his last name was. I forget. But you talked about poetry and doing it, and you had shown me some stuff that you had written. I don't know if you even remember this conversation.
I don't.
There's also another conversation that involves West Side Boogie that I'll bring up later on when we get in the features. But you were showing me some of your earliest versions of poetry, and you also started talking about it very deeply on our first episode that we recorded all those years ago. Incorporating poetry into what you're doing in your intro, I think, is kind of actually just your entire style as an MC is kind of what defines this album to me, because you incorporate your ability to write an incredible stanza into writing an incredible verse, and the two going together, it's a natural thing. Poetry is hip-hop is poetry.
Exactly.
But it's so defined that you're telling a poem and rapping in this album. And I think that the first track and the very last track really are poems. And you talking about all of these really explicit, dark things. I guess my first question is, with the intro track being what I would take as a poem, or not even a poem, a letter, or even in this case a voicemail to God, what got you there? Like, the constant questioning of your faith, the constant, like, why am I being tested in this way? Why am I being put through this situation just to test my strength or my faith or whatever the case may be? Like, how did you end up there? And is that something that really happened in your life where you were questioning?
Yeah, definitely.
Your faith.
Yeah, one thing for sure, two things for certain. I don't ever write anything that I never really experienced.
100%.
Mind you, like I said before, I wrote that in 2019.
Okay.
Those thoughts and feelings been with me since a child because I was kind of brought into a Christian household.
Okay.
And there's certain beliefs, certain, things that go on with that. And just in general, things that I've been through growing up, it kind of made me question because, how people always say, still keep your faith in God, you be protected, X, Y, and Z. But I'm like, okay, if that's the case, then why is X, Y, and Z happening to me? And why aren't things changing?
Right.
So then also on the flip, as a man, you can't really express things like that. We aren't taught to express our thoughts and feelings like that off bat. So I just put it on paper. I wrote it out and kind of used the metaphor as a phone call instead of a prayer to God, because it's like, what's going on? Like, where are you at? I'm questioning my faith. And I also know that this isn't uncommon. I know people question their faith all the time. They may not speak about it, but I know they do.
Yeah. It's something that's always in the dark.
Exactly. And I'm going to be the one to put it out there.
Right.
Unapologetically.
No, for sure. Because you're only echoing something that I'm pretty sure like everyone has been through, where you're like, okay, this happened. And we're talking about just anything. It could be the smallest thing into the biggest thing, which, I'm aware that a lot of big things happen in this period of time where you're like, okay, God, so when does the blessing part come? And you really explicitly talk about that in the intro, but just to go fast forward into the outro, because we're going to talk about everything in between. Yes.
I'm going to add one more thing.
Please do.
Just giving details that makes the album that much more of a masterpiece. Each and every sound that you hear, I did that myself. So with the intro, you hear the rain, you hear the thunder. These are all recordings from my phone.
The car.
Yeah, the car. Yeah, these are all recordings from my phone. Sound recordings.
Yeah.
And I just put them together.
That's
to
incredible.
Build a scene. Yeah.
Because I think that adds to it as well.
Yeah, it does. It does.
The ominous feeling of alone, feeling like your faith has been tested to the brim, adding in the sounds of being in a car in a heavy pressure scenario, like being in the middle of a thunderstorm, and also already a very emotional person. It's kind of like you're on the edge of your seat and you're like, what's happening here? What's next? And incredible setting that you set there. Fast forwarding to the outro there, which, and probably one of my favorite like verses / poems of yours, you incorporate each title.
You picked that up,
dude.
You picked that up.
Incredible.
You picked that up.
You start from the beginning where you're talking about your pride. You're talking about being from the 410 and then transitioning into the 404 and your dad, your relationship there, and then going into all the way through the entire record, and seemingly talking about how all these experiences like together formulated who Amari is today. And while most of those experiences, good, bad, or ugly, formulate who I am as a young man, a young black man, out of all of those experiences, what was the toughest one that like really tested your strength? Because there's a song, Happy Birthday, KJT, that I don't necessarily know the story behind it, but it sounds like you're mourning.
I'll give you the back end on that.
Please do.
Matter of fact, that song is a revamp of the very first song that I dropped when we did our first podcast, My Nigga.
My Nigga.
That was about him too.
Gotcha.
Same guy. So KJT, Kobe Jordan Tyler. He was one of my friends, one of my first friends that I met in college. There was a group of us, and some of them were there at the listening party as well.
Right.
When we went to Savannah. He actually got into a car accident and died on my birthday.
No.
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm so sorry.
No, I appreciate it. But that's why it's called Happy Birthday, KJT.
Jesus.
And yeah, like it was just a whole, you know, he was a good friend to everybody. You know, he was always smiling, always at a good time. So
yeah.
I just wanted to kind of give my condolences to his family and everybody within this album as well, because it impacted me along with our friends and everything like that. So, but yeah, like that's why even the track before, which was Deja Vu Part 2.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about those too.
Deja Vu Part 2. Yeah, Deja Vu Part 2 ends in a car crash.
Yeah,
and it goes into. So that's the connection.
Which I hope you didn't actually record that.
No. I didn't actually record that part. But that's the connection.
So
like,
you're so committed to the album.
Yeah, I actually wrecked my car. I actually wrecked the fuck out my car. But yeah, that's the connection though. So that's like the backstory that people don't know unless you really know.
Right.
But I'm more than welcome to giving people the insights on
100%.
why I have certain scripts where they are.
Yeah, Kobe, you said?
Kobe, yep.
Rest in peace to him. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah.
So that happens very early. You're also working on yourself, because we're talking about a very formulative period in your life, which I'm assuming this is post high school, your early college years.
Yeah.
Those ages are the hardest.
Yeah.
Like I wish I could really verbally explain how hard it is to not only be a 20-something, but also a black 20-something in this country.
Exactly.
Of all of these experiences, and then, like, you know, everything that's on the exterior, the interior is the thing that's really eating at you. That's what it seems like on this album, because we're talking about Deja Vu Part 1 and Part 2. At some point, I like out loud was like, I want you to be really easy on yourself, because it's a full range of emotions where you're talking about, yes, I have a lot going on in my brain. Let's just look in the mirror for 2 seconds and talk about what issues come on my end.
Right.
And I think you verbally really explained. Could you like just further break down what those things were that led you to spaces where you're like, oh, I'm my own worst enemy in most of my issues?
I think it's more so, I think Deja Vu, both parts, is more so of a mental thing rather than it actually being literal. Because a lot of the times where you feel like, you ever heard like people say, if everybody's wrong, then what are you?
Yeah, sure.
That's kind of the concept that I went with it. It was like, you know, I'm blaming everybody, but is this really, I had to look myself in the mirror and was like, you know, is it everybody or is it you? Do you have to fix some things within yourself? Like, what's going on? So that's pretty much, just to sum it up, what Deja Vu Part 1 and Part 2 was about. Part 1 was my reflection talking to me, and Deja Vu Part 2 was me talking to my reflection. So it was the flip. I don't know if you caught that. It was the flip. Yeah, it's the flip. So like,
well, I heard the flip in the instrumental.
Yeah, it's reversed.
I put 2 and 2 together, but I didn't, know it to that extent. That's
so it's reversed. So even from down to the beat to the perspective, everything is in reverse.
I might cut this, but we need to shoot a video for that.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
I'm in for Deja.
Deja Vu. Yeah,
I want to do that. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, we can do that. But everything's in reverse. Just to play with it a little bit more. Yeah. And also, everything's connected. Like I said, I keep saying it, because even with the trailer, in Deja Vu Part 1 and Part 2, I keep references a roundabout. Yeah. Like just going in circles. And in the trailer, you see me driving around a roundabout. One goes forward, and the other one is in reverse. It's all, it's like foreshadowing in a way.
Is that a metaphor for just how things have been in the last 4 years? It just feels like you're going in circles, more or less.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. And it's like, I feel like I've been given opportunities to fix certain things, but I don't take it. So it just puts me back in that loop until I get it right.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's pretty much what Deja Vu Part 1 and Part 2 is about.
Right. What offers you the like strength and the confidence and the bravery to be this introspective with your thoughts? Because we're now, you know, a couple minutes into talking about everything, and we just kind of delved right into everything calling, and I'm like, it's taken me back to my first listen, which was at that listening party, and then I had the opportunity to listen to it today, where I'm sitting here and I'm like, he's like not holding back. Like there's like no remorse in how much he's offering here, negative or positive, because there are some positives here, but you know, you have to take both to, you know, full on paint the picture.
Right.
No pun intended. Where does that come from? Because I've known you for quite some time, but I've never known you to just like.
And I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is. I think everybody has a breaking point.
Okay.
To where you hold things in for so long, you're gonna start wanting to know the answers. You know, you
100%.
So it's like, this was the moment for me to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and music as a whole is a outlet for me. So I had to push everything out through music. You know, I could have easily talked about it with somebody, but it's just not that easy. It's just not that easy. So it was more easier for me to, you know, write it out as poems and lyrics, X, Y, and Z, and put it out there. So yeah, that's pretty much where all that came from.
Wow. And the confidence to explicitly do that, does that just like formulate on its own? Or?
Not really, because even before the release date, I was anxious on actually dropping the album, period.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't going to drop it.
Amari?
Yeah, I wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you start to question yourself, you know, and you kind of battle yourself with wondering if this is the right way to do it. Is this, you know, you start to consider other people's feelings, people that I reference, you know, I'm putting out our business, our personal business. Is it, you know, it's stuff like that kind of made me second guess myself. Like, you know, should I put it out? You know, is this too introspective? Like, what's right? You know, should I sugarcoat it a little bit?
Like, where's the line?
Yeah, you know. So, but it's like little sparks of confidence that I would get every once in a while, to where it's like, dude, just do it.
Right.
You know, just do it, because every feeling that you felt, everything that you wrote down, they're all valid. They're validated. Nobody can take that from you. Yeah. You know, and there's somebody out there who needs to hear the same thing, because they may be going through the same shit.
100%.
So that's what motivates me. That's what it's like, you know.
Yeah. It pushed you
it pushed me to actually drop it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I think you did the right thing by dropping it, because there's so many themes within it that, like, oh, this is gonna resonate with an 18-year-old. Like, no one's fucking business. And I'm very excited for someone to hear it, and it be the right person to hear it, because, and that could mean a multitude of things. I think when I say it, I want the right person being like some music big record exec to hear it, so they're like, oh, who the fuck is this? But I also want, you know, little, I don't know, Mikey that's going to South Cobb High School to hear it and going through whatever he's going through, and it's like, oh my God, I'm seen, I'm heard. And I think that this album affords that opportunity to a multitude of people. Not even just, you know, young black kids, but like
but all,
everybody,
you know,
just going through whatever they're going through.
Exactly. And I feel like that's, you know, I feel like at a moment like this within the music industry, I think that's, projects like that are needed. Oh,
we need it, dude.
It's you don't hear things like that anymore. You don't hear like, you know, a lot of uplifting or things that people could actually connect with.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
it's just a lot of cookie cutter.
Exactly.
Happening.
So, this was me kind of throwing in the hook. You know, to see what I could catch, and I mean, so far so good. Everybody's giving me crazy ass, you know, feedback from it. So
absolutely, well deserved.
Yeah.
So, just to get off calling for like 2 seconds, because I mean, most of the reason that we're here today is just you, because I like when I implore people to come on either this podcast or the old one, it's because I want to talk to you, and you didn't have much of a body of work out when I asked you to come on I was just like, no, I fucking love Amari. He's the best person ever.
Yeah.
Tell me about your upbringing, because I know you from, I'm pretty sure 7th grade to high school, graduating. So, tell me more about, before that. Tell me about Baltimore.
Yeah, Maryland.
Baltimore, Amari.
Yeah, Maryland. I am, my family, I'm born and raised in Annapolis, Maryland, the capital.
Gotcha.
I would say middle, somewhat low-class family.
Okay.
We didn't really have much. Everything was penny pinching. We always had to find a way to get something to eat.
Yep.
Stuff like that. In and out of the apartments, shit like that. So, that's pretty much what kicked off everything. Sometimes bills wouldn't be paid on time. Lights would be out, water would be off, stuff like that. We have to try to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And it's just witnessing that at an age to where I could comprehend everything, but yet can't really do anything about it.
You're really talking right now.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't really do anything about it because you're so young. You're too young to have a job, but birthday money you give it to your parents.
Yeah.
Shit like that. You can't. It's things like that I like to talk about. Because it's who I am. It's where I come from.
Yeah.
Also have 3 sisters, 2 little ones and an older sister. Grew up in a household, all women. My biological dad, he was in my life. We would have our little visits here and there. But I wouldn't necessarily say I grew up with him to the point where, I could actually say we have certain memories set,
Right.
And me and him discussed this recently. We're slowly building our bond back.
That's good.
Yeah, so, it's that. It's relationships that I had with my older sister, all types of shit that I just discussed on the album.
Yeah.
Explicitly. I just put it out there. And it kind of built a monster. That's what it did over time. And I use all my outlets to kind of help myself cope,
Yeah.
self-taught in everything that I do.
Yeah.
Because I needed
something.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that's where I come from.
Baltimore.
Little church, little house church that everybody goes to. And my uncle, on my stepdad's side, Uncle William, he was the pastor. Stuff like that. It's just certain majority black community or Hispanic. So moving here, it was a shock. It was a shock to me. I didn't know how to interact with people.
Big culture.
Yeah, I was like, what did these people do? What did they talk? What did they talk about? So I ain't really when I first moved here, I didn't really talk to nobody. I was just trying to move.
I do remember that very loosely. I have a very distinct and good memory, long-term memory at least. And I actually remember the first time I ever met you, and it was through Sam Moon and Marcus Loney, I believe. We were all in Miss, goddamn, what was her name?
What
Miss
class was
Moore. Language Arts, I
Miss
believe.
Moore.
Or it was social studies or something like that. I don't really remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got a better memory than me.
I know. It's insane. But I met you in there, and I was like, oh, this is a cool dude. Just trying to meet people because I was a very social, anxiety-filled kid in 6th grade who was kind of like you, transitioning from knowing the people that I knew in elementary school, and then most of those people go into different middle schools and go into Loving Good and being like, bro, who the fuck do I talk to? And then, finding my people finally in 7th grade, and it's when I met you and a bunch of other really good people. And I don't know, it's just good to know that I could still talk to people from that time period in my life, because it's holy shit, we're grown.
Yeah,
now.
for real.
And
shit crazy.
I met you in 7th grade. It's what the fuck? This is so crazy. So you move here eventually, and then you're going through grade school. I'll fast forward past like all the unimportant growing in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
When does poetry, music, all of these art, all of these things that are now I would consider your main things because you're so good at each of them. When do those things start incorporating in your life? Like what there?
It started off with drawing.
Okay.
I used to draw back in Maryland.
Oh,
As a kid. So painting was the very first thing that I taught myself how to do. I kind of put a pencil down and was like, I'm gonna add color. So I picked up that, I want to say late middle school.
Wow.
Late middle school, taught myself how to do that. Then fast forward high school, I was getting better. My senior project in high school was that big owl that I painted.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, so that was like the transition for that. Poetry came right after that. And literally, I just, you know how people have like writer's block? There's a thing where painters have the same thing. It's like we just can't figure out what to. Yeah, exactly. So I had to find another outlet. So I just started writing words down, putting words in stanzas, and using rhyme schemes, and playing around with it. So that's how I got into that, and just kept practicing that over and over and over and over until I finally met my friend group who was like, put it on the beat. Yeah. So that's how I transitioned into music. So everything was just like,
it was like a build.
Yeah.
Each way so would you say that each expression, whether it's to a canvas or to a paper or, I guess in rap's case to a beat, like it's more or less the same expression, or is there a different attack with each of those?
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
Oh, thank you.
I think because I'm trying to think like exactly how I feel when I do each and every one.
Yeah, it's it's a loaded question.
Yeah, I feel like there is a difference.
Okay.
To me in particular, though, maybe not to the audience,
right?
But me, I feel it more when I do certain things, depending on what the emotion is.
Right. Because I guess as the audience, when you hear, I guess, the poetry and the raps kind of coexist, it does feel like it's coming from the same attack. Yeah. But I guess the power behind the words of a poem versus the verse are coming from different, point of views or attentions.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. So, that was a very good question, because there's been times where, I would get emotional writing, writing stuff, put it on paper, saying it out loud, actually hearing my voice echo off the walls with the shit that I'm saying.
Right.
I get emotional sometimes with that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't say that I've felt that way with like painting. They come from different, I may express the same exact emotions on the canvas, but I wouldn't get as emotional.
Right.
It's weird.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Like all the emotion lies in the action.
Yeah.
But not the emotion, like, I guess, in our case, crying.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So, So that's I would say it would be different. It would be different.
Incredible. Because, I mean, I only ask because each of them are just as good as the other thing. And I didn't really know that you were painting until, like, I guess right around the time I asked you to come on my podcast, because I was like, what in the fuck? I saw you had done I think it was a Tupac painting around that time.
Yeah.
And I was like, Amari, where did this come from? But then, I jogged my memory. I'm like, oh, you did paint like the biggest canvas I've ever seen in my life. So it's just like, I'm like, where did this come from? How long ago have you been doing this? So it's just good to know that you picked it up that long ago, and it's just kind of progressed, much like your music career thus far. It's just started on a very bare bones platform for yourself, and then it's just kind of gradually grown into something incredible. So going back to calling, one of the on top of the storytelling, the visualization you can kind of get from not even just a trailer, but just like listening to it and visualizing what you're hearing. Another element that was really, really great was the features. Like I was pleasantly surprised at hearing Dietrich Nada on your album, because I'm familiar with her from her appearance on Jermaine Dupri's TV show not too long ago, where she was like, battling to become, that was incredible. How did you how does it feel to have that kind of a placement like on a song like that? Because I love 410. It's like a really, really dope.
I appreciate it.
Just good bop.
Yeah. The idea was because I tried to make, along with all the stories that I put within the album, I still try to make it, or let it be known where I'm from. So I incorporated a lot of things from Maryland, like our area code 410. I needed a song with 410, and Dietrich Nada's from Maryland as well, so I needed a feature from somebody from Maryland.
Right.
And even when the intro transitions to Sticks and Stones, you hear the radio playing, and then there's a radio show that comes on that only comes on in Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heard.
So I put, I kind of put in these little things to,
That's
see
incredible.
where I'm coming from. Yeah,
I
you know
love
what I mean?
that kind of shit.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Like,
Like
it's the small things.
Yeah, so it's like, this is where I'm from. So it's like when people hear it, it's like, oh shit, that's radio show from, he must be a DMV, or he must be from. I love that type of connection.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I wrote 410, I wrote it before I figured out what the feature was going to be. And I was just like, I need somebody from Maryland. I kind of went through a list of people, artists from Maryland, and I was like, I'm going to go with a female artist more than anybody. Rico Nasty was the first one. But then I was like, no, I'm going to need somebody with a little bit more bounce. So
perfect.
I reached out to her her record label. They reached back out to me, gave me the insights and everything, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, and was like, let us know. That's how that happened.
It's a great track.
Yeah, thank you. And that's how that happened.
A couple other, I'm forgetting her name. Is it Baby T? Or, gosh darn, what's her name? I'm going to look at it right now. Because her verse was incredible.
On my album?
Yes.
Oh, you talking about in the Apples Ballad?
Yeah. What?
B. Taylor.
B. Taylor. Oh, my God.
Yeah, my girl B. Taylor.
Incredible. Where is she from?
She's here.
Atlanta.
She's here.
Wow.
She's having a listening party at the same spot in October. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I might have to pop out.
Yeah, in October. I'll send you the flyer.
Please do. Yeah. Because, I mean,
I love B.
Her verse threw me for a loop. I was like, holy shit, who's this?
Yeah, I love B.
I would be not addressing an elephant in the room if I didn't address the West Side Boogie feature. Insane, dude. I mean, I guess I had briefly seen the track list when you had posted the back cover, which we'll get into the cover and the art and everything behind that as well. But I guess I just like because I had seen it. I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna be there. I'll look. And then that track, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Boogie? And the only reason on top of just loving Boogie, because he's one of my favorites, I freaked out because of this one instance, and this is going to be where my memory comes back into play. We had a very specific conversation it was in our math class senior year, and I guess like around this time, like this is when it's like me, Alex, B. Will, Sharif, you.
Coach Richardson class.
Yeah, Coach
Richardson.
Yeah, shout out to him. We're all sitting in that pod, so we always talk about music. Around this time, it's so fun because it's the SoundCloud era, so like every time Lil Yachty drops a new track, we're like, y'all hear the new Lil Yachty? It's like, it was just such a good time. But one of the tracks that I remember explicitly talking about with you, and I believe it was, I forget who else we were talking about with, but it was Boogie, one of Boogie's like very first like tracks that popped off. And I'm really slipping on the track name, but
it wasn't Nigga Needs.
Is that the one where he's in the museum with the book?
Nigga Needs, yeah.
I mean, literally, I was like, dude, have you seen this video? And he's like, nigga, I love Boogie. And I was like, oh, like, I need more. Like, tell me more about him. And I, like, instantly went back to that because I was like, that was a big moment because, like, that was, like, oh, who's this guy? Like, this music video is insane. And then he shortly after got signed to Shady. And I went right back to that when I started hearing his voice. I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, this is such a full circle moment. I was like, I'm so proud of this dude right now. Because, you know, high school math class talking about, you know, his start. And he's more than solidified now. And just hearing him on your record was like, what the fuck? Like, this is the beginning of something huge. What is it like having a Boogie feature on your album and it being not light? Like, he was rapping.
Oh, bro. He was rapping. He was rapping. I'm gonna tell you how this shit went.
Please do.
So same story how it is with D. I reached out to his side of the family and got connected with him. He was like, yeah, bro, I'm gonna get back to you. We exchanged numbers and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna hit you up right now. He had things going on with his son.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, yeah, take your time, bro. And I'm sitting here like looking at my text messages and like I'm texting Boogie right now. Like what the fuck? Like, I'm looking at the contact and I'm like, we really just texting like, you know, some regular shit. I'm like, that's crazy. And fast forward when he sends me his stems, I'm at work and cooking at work. And you know how the AirPod Siri will talk to you when you get a message and shit.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, Westside Boogie sent you audio, and I play it, and I'm like, dog, I'm like cooking, and I'm like, what the fuck? I would have been buzzing. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm talking about my screen filled. Fucking orders late as shit, and I'm like, yo, this shit crazy as fuck. I was like, yo. So I text him like,
line with a Boogie
bro,
text is crazy.
I'm like, yo. I text him back. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And I wanted him to do. This is like a little melody I did after his verse. I actually wanted him to do that, but I was like, you know what? Never mind. Don't do that. Cause I got it because you already did your shit. And, you know, this is my song, nigga. I don't want you killing my shit. That's exactly what I told him. Yeah, that's exactly what I told him. So,
oh my god.
And he was like, LOL, bro, you good, bro? Do it. And I sent him. He was like, bro, this shit hard.
So, I'm sorry, but how do you get in contact with him? Like, where does that begin?
I just reach out to his side, like his whoever he's in record deals with.
Right.
Yeah, and I kind of weed myself through.
That's incredible.
Yeah, kind of weed myself through, like I did with Deetronada. Just reach out to her record company.
Yeah, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Just being a little bit more diligent about how you're approaching. Holy shit. Because
that's really it.
I was excited, and then like one of the things that like, you know, gets me going about like my friends doing what they want to do art wise is like knowing that they're a step away. Like a step away from just like, you know, reaching their full potential and whatever it is they're doing. But also just like a step away from the people that they call their heroes. And like you were, you know, pretty explicitly talking after the album, like just like letting everything emotion-wise get out after the first listen. And then it had finally dropped. And you were really emotional. And you were talking about like, yo, I got Boogie on my album. And like that means like I'm only a step away from like this person and that person. I think you said Kendrick,
because he worked on
Mr. Morale.
Exactly. So it's like everybody to me is like in my arm's reach.
Yeah.
It's like if I wanted this person, I could kind of weed myself to possibly.
Which got me
and it's like,
juiced. I was like, oh shit.
It's like,
I want to know what's next.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I could reach out to these people. And like I said too, it's like, it's to the point where I love doing what I do so much. It's not even about, you know, even dropping it. Like, I just want to reach to these people. We make a song and I could just keep it in the vault. Yeah. I just want to see where I'm at as far as the level with them. You know, I just want to see exactly how good I am. You know, so it's the competitive side of rap. That's really what that shit, you know. So that's what's in me. Yeah,
y'all were talking about that competitive nature that existed in that house.
Yeah, so it's like I go for the big guys. You know, I'm like, you know, if I feel like I'm in my zone right now and I'm like I'm just like, yo, bring me whoever. Yeah, I want to see if we could go head to head.
If you had to give me 3 of those people that you're like, yeah, let me see you for a second. Who do you want to do that with?
I know I would get murdered, but Kendrick for sure.
100%. Not that you would get murdered.
No, I know
100% that you want Kendrick.
Yeah, 100% I want Kendrick. But I know if I'm gonna get murdered.
Yeah, I mean, but I think, hey, dude, I think you'll stay 10 toes.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll ground. You'll be all right.
But the reason why I say that is because you never know with Kendrick. Yeah. He would throw out like a wild ass style with you, and you just like, dog.
This is true.
What the fuck? You wasn't even expecting that type of shit.
Right. And then it will never see the light of day.
Yeah, exactly. but you know, a lot of that also comes from me wanting to learn as well.
Gotcha.
You know, it's almost like I also did this reference at the listening party as well. Like how you have like the karate movies, and you have the sensei and you have the student.
Yeah.
They fight each other, and then later on the student comes back to fight the sensei. Same shit.
Yeah,
so it's like, exactly. So it's like I want to be in a room with these people and just go back and forth. Yeah. To the point where my pen is like fucking lethal now because I have so many influences around me.
Right.
So that's the whole thing. So Kendrick for sure. I don't know if you remember this, if you've seen this in my story, but me and Royce, the 5'9".
I do remember. Do y'all have something?
No, but we in the works.
Okay.
Yeah, we in
right
the
on.
works.
Because I think I swiped up on your story when he like y'all. I forget what the post was.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Yeah. that's another level.
Yeah. So and him and I would say female wise, woman wise. I want to go toe to toe with Rhapsody.
Rhapsody's nice. She's one of my favorites right now.
Yeah,
her and No Name are my.
No Name too.
They're up there.
No Name, yeah. But Rhapsody, I want to go head to head with Rhapsody. I think we will just make a dope ass track.
Yeah,
like ridiculous.
I think you're right there, dude.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah. So
you say Royce, and I mean, fucking Boogie's shady, so you're really shoulder length away from him.
So it's like it's nothing. So
that's so exciting.
You know, I just study their shit. I just, like Highlighted. You watch Highlighted? Where like they have the lyrics and they highlight.
Yeah.
I watched that. And all that. I watch that all the fucking time.
Dude, me too.
And I just kind of pick up shit. Like that's how I got the style that I have. It's like I just watch certain people's shit. And I'm like, yo, they moved it this way, that way. It's a whole algorithm. It's like a whole equation.
Incredible.
Like how they do shit. And it's like, dude, this is ridiculous.
I just watched the one for what is that? Survival Tactics.
Okay.
Joey Badass and Capital C's, RP Steez.
Yeah, Steez, RP Steez.
His rhyme scheme was like, it looked like a checkered flag board because it's just like, I mean, every rhyme, like whether it came 4 lines or right after, he was gonna go back and reference whatever syllable because he was just like, no, like it's just like when you see it in like that kind of form, you're like, oh, they're like on a mission to make this an art piece. And it just makes hip hop so much more beautiful.
Exactly, and that's why I love doing it. I actually made a highlighted video myself on my Instagram. It's on my Instagram. Just to also see where my rhymes, like, how it looked with everything.
Which, by the way, your wordplay is something else.
Appreciate it.
Like, I was thoroughly impressed with the production and the storytelling because I already knew that was going to be present. Like, with you, it just felt like a prerequisite. Like, this is going to be a very good, art piece is how I like to call it. And when I got there and you had started playing, I think it was the second track. What was the name of the
Sticks and Stones?
Sticks and Stones. You were playing that just to test the audio at the venue, and I was like, "What the fuck did I just get into? You're rapping, nigga! Like what?"
Yeah, man.
So, by all means, like just ultimate praise to you for just perfecting your craft and like bringing it to where it is right now, and another aspect of that is like everything going into the project outside of the sonics. It's also the cover that like brings everything together, and the trailer where did that concept come from? Where does the idea to paint your face black and your arms and your body and the roundabout and everything with that, which, by the way, it looks incredible.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Major props to you, your photographer. And
thank you. Yes, I was about to give shout outs. Shout out to Zuri. Shout out to Spike G, my cinematographer. Shout out to my brother Elijah Christian. He was also a cinematographer. Honestly, the concept came straight off the top. Yeah, it was just I think that was a way for me to kind of mix in all of my creativity. Like, from just writing, you also got to see the visual side.
Right.
You know, I tried to see how I could put it all together.
Right.
So yeah, off the top, I was like, you know, how can I pretty much explain this album without the words? And that's what I came up with.
Wow.
You know, I knew how the album felt, with all the frustration, the questioning, and everything. So that's what the black paint was symbolic to, was the frustration and everything all over me. And yeah, that's pretty much it, really. Yeah, I just I drew it out. I drew everything out first. Every scene, I drew it out on my sketchbook first and put them in order. Called up my cinematographer. We went to the studio, made it happen.
Wow.
That's how it went, right out the book.
Incredible.
Yeah, right out the book.
And the calling part where you transition from what was it? It was pain tolerance to calling. Is that a seamless transition when it just like felt like, oh, like I could just like incorporate this metaphor of me calling God, and that's how that went? Or did it just feel like a very poignant decision? Because it's very much so the whole idea and theme of the album. Where did that come from?
I think that came from, I was trying to find another symbolic piece for the album. I felt like it wasn't enough.
Okay.
So a phone was it, because like I also stated before, you know, this album is also to reach out to other people that goes through the same thing.
Right.
So me knowing that a phone is used to do that, I was like, I'm gonna use a phone. I'm gonna call it calling, you know? And yeah, that's really where it went from.
It worked incredible because like you're obviously on the phone asking for God to pick up.
Yeah.
And you know, you're talking about everything that you're going to be in detail talking about throughout the entire album, and you get to the end of this track and you say amen, and I'm like, oh my God, he just said a prayer. Like, he's talking to God, like, and within this prayer to God, you're, you know, letting out your ailments to God, which almost directly is like, hey God, like I mess with you, but like,
like, what's up?
Like, what's going on here? So just like putting everything together, which I think that's also another, you know, incredible piece of this, is you make it very accessible for, you know, any old listener to listen to this and be like, oh, he's doing this and doing that. Oh, this makes sense because this is here and this is here, but like also not really giving us the entire equation. Like, you're not like force feeding. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you this. You put it together and go from there.
And that's what makes that album great, in my opinion.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's what makes the album great. I like content to where you can listen to it, and maybe like 3 years later, you'll be like, damn, I just realized he did this.
Exactly.
You know, that's what makes it, you know, enjoyable, in my opinion.
100%. Which is why, like, I feel like, you know, talking to people about their art, it's like a slippery slope, because like I'm obviously gonna reserve my questions a bit to let people find out the pieces that we didn't talk about today, because like go if you didn't even realize that he referenced every song in the outro, go back and listen.
That's
to
crazy
it.
that you noticed that though. That's crazy.
It was incredible. I was like,
crazy that you
no
noticed that.
Fucking way. And it was funny because like I forget which song you had mentioned by the time that I realized what you were doing. Because
they're all in order too.
No, it was therapy. Once you talked about like not going to therapy, and I was like, oh, and then I went back to the track list. I was like, no way, he's so good. And for it to be, you know, your debut album, and I'm like,
it's a hard hitter.
I'm like,
that's a hard hitter. What's next?
You asked the question. I'm going to ask it back at you. What is next? What do you feel like you want to go from here?
I am actually working on a project. I have 2 EPs already currently ready.
Okay. Hell yeah.
But with those already on the backside, and since I just dropped the album, I'm gonna kind of lay low for a little bit.
Right.
Maybe drop some singles here and there, but focus on album number 2. Album number 2 is going to be an interesting ride. It's gonna be very interesting. I'm kind of challenging myself in a sense. I wouldn't say it would be anything like album number 1.
Right on.
Yeah. So I'm kind of interested in myself to see where it's gonna take me.
Yeah.
But
testing the limits there.
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
on.
So, but
I
already,
don't want any more. I'm
Okay.
like, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
okay.
I like
I was about
the
to say,
setup. That was a good setup.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I already have like ideas, visual ideas, name ideas, and shit like that already into place. So, but as far as the sound goes,
Nothing you've ever done before. Wow. Dude, this is... I'm so excited. I'm just, you see me. I'm smiling.
Yeah, I
dude.
sent one track to my old friend Jordan. He was at the listening party as well. I sent a track that would potentially be on album number 2, and he was like, what the fuck is this? Like,
Wow.
This is fucking ridiculous.
Okay.
Like, switch after switch after switch after switch. It was just...
You got me excited. Holy shit.
It was just what? The energy, everything. It's just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
So-
that's a good word to use,
Yeah.
energy, because it's one thing to hear it, see it on the platform, but like being in that room that night when it was, on the precipice of coming out, you felt that energy. It was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about everyone in the room like noticing that it was like a really, really good piece of work. It was also just your energy exuding and being like, yeah, no, I'm nice.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, I love this. And I took a bunch of footage that I'm currently cutting up right now in a big video that I'm gonna send you pretty soon. But I was just like, dude, this is like different. Like I'm very, very excited, very proud, and so ready for what's next, but also not gonna let that overshadow the current moment of calling, because we're talking about it being out for a week now. Not even yet.
Yeah.
I want you to enjoy that, because 4 years is a dedication that I don't think a lot of people are really cognizant of until they're in it themselves. And also you're not really aware of it unless you're an artist of your own. But everybody go listen to the album.
Listen to Colin.
It's just incredible.
Listen to Colin. All on platform. Well, Spotify.
We're working
on Spotify, but everything else,
everything else.
Colin
Go get your free trial for Apple.
Yeah.
Go listen on YouTube, whatever the case may be. But Mari, incredible. I'm so excited to see where the alter ego, as you say, Offiliate is headed. And yeah, man, I'm just excited. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Of course. Appreciate you, man.